There are a lot of interesting, intriguing, and simply incredible events in our history that you most likely have not heard about. And among them, there are a huge number of confirmed real historical facts that sound like some kind of joke or fiction because of their surrealism. In this video, Top F will tell you about 20 real historical facts that are very hard to believe. And before we start, please support my channel with your likes and subscription and turn on notifications to catch all the new releases. Grab your popcorn, we start. 1. Gaius Julius Caesar Octavian Augustus was the richest man in all of history. The net worth of the Roman emperor, great-nephew, and heir of Gaius Julius Caesar is estimated by today's standards at $4.6 trillion. Some say that the richest man in the world was King Mansa Musa of Timbuktu, as his fortune was too great to be counted. However, the stunning wealth of Augustus could still be estimated. 2. Alexander the Great was buried alive by accident. When Alexander the Great died at 32, he had already conquered and created the largest empire the world had ever seen. It stretched from the Balkans to Pakistan. In 323 BC, Alexander the Great fell ill and, after 12 days of excruciating pain, seemed to have died. However, his body showed no signs of decomposition for a full 6 days. Modern scholars believe that Alexander the Great suffered from a neurological disorder known as Guillain-Barré syndrome. They believe that when he didn't die, he was just paralyzed and conscious. He was buried alive. 3. The most successful pirate in history was a woman. Her name was Zheng Yi, and she was a Chinese prostitute. That was until the commander of the Red Banner Fleet ransomed her and married her. But instead of seeing her as just a wife, he considered her his equal, so she began to command the pirates of the fleet. Zheng Yi soon earned respect and authority among the pirates. And so much so that after the death of her husband, she became the commander of the fleet. Under the command of Zheng Yi, the Red Banner Fleet numbered over 300 warships, with the possibility of adding another 1,200 if needed. Under her leadership were 40,000 to 80,000 men, women, and children. They hunted by robbery in the waters of the Chinese coast. The Red Banner Fleet was such a fearsome band of raiders that the Chinese government ended up pardoning Zheng Yi and her entire fleet, only to let them escape to the open sea. 4. Inconvenient fact about the Lewis and Clark expedition. The Lewis and Clark expedition is one of the most famous chapters in American history. It was the first overland expedition across the United States from St. Louis to the Pacific coast and back. It is not surprising that historians and researchers have sought to reproduce its details. However, this was difficult to do, since the expedition lasted 28 months and passed through 600 different places. Archaeologists have found a unique way to identify several events that happened at that time through the analysis of toilets. It was found that the waste products abounded in mercury. Surviving records revealed that the researchers had abundant supplies of Dr. Rush's bile pill, a very strong laxative. One tablet contained 10 grains of calomel, also known as mercuric chloride. These mercury-coated pills were also helpful for another common travel ailment, syphilis. Most of the 30 people on the expedition had venereal diseases. 5. The Colosseum was originally completely lined with marble. If you visit the Colosseum today, you will notice that the stone facade appears to be dimpled all over. While it can be assumed that this is simply the erosion of the material due to its age, it is actually because it was originally almost completely lined with marble. The reason for the appearance of these gaps is that after the fall of Rome, the city was marauded and plundered by the Goths. Yes, get ready. They stripped all the marble from the Colosseum and stripped it, mostly, to bare stone. The holes in the stone are the places from which the iron clamps and poles were torn out, attaching the marble facing to it. 6. Jeanne d'Arc brought the bob haircut into fashion. Joan of Arc, the heroine of France, has become a style icon for the hairdresser Alexander de Paris, who was a real inventor and history buff. He chose Jeanne as a symbol of a female wrestler and was inspired by her cropped short hair, inventing a bob haircut universal for any type of face, easy to style, and incredibly comfortable. And then, based on it, he created the image of Cleopatra for Elizabeth Taylor. The motto of Alexander de Paris was, "Never disappoint a woman." It was he who invented the crab hairpin, a wide elastic band sheathed with fabric, and personally took care of the beauty of the hair of Grace Kelly, Maria Callas, Audrey Hepburn, Elizabeth Taylor, Greta Garbo, and Sophia Loren. 7. The Vikings were the first to discover America. 1,005 centuries before Christopher Columbus discovered America, the Scandinavian navigator Leif Erikson from Greenland landed on the island of Newfoundland. Under the leadership of Leif Erikson, the Vikings settled Newfoundland and also discovered and settled the Labrador Peninsula, located in what is now Canada. 8. Destroyed Etude of Leonardo da Vinci. Given that Leonardo da Vinci is one of the most influential artists of all time, any of his work is considered priceless. One has only to imagine the excitement in the 1990s when a previously unknown essay by a Renaissance master found among the drawings of Count Stefano della Bella of the 17th century was discovered. The sketch represented Orpheus being attacked by the Furies. Extra care had to be taken to preserve the sketch, so a team of restorers was called into. They destroyed a priceless sketch by treating it with alcohol and water, causing the ink to disappear. 9. During World War I, the French built a fake Paris. Fake Paris with replicas of the Champs-Élysées and the Gare du Nord was built by the French at the end of World War I to confuse German bomber and fighter pilots flying over French skies. They even built a fake railroad that was illuminated in certain places to give the illusion of a train moving on the rails from above. 10. Benjamin Franklin tried to seduce a friend's wife. Benjamin Franklin did many strange things in his life. While he lived in London, he tried to seduce the wife of a friend named James Ralph, which Franklin admitted in his autobiography. According to him, Ralph and his new bride did not have enough money to start a family. So Ralph left London to teach at a country school in Berkshire and left his wife in the care of Franklin. During this time, Ralph often wrote to Franklin, sending him fragments of an epic poem he was working on and asking for his comments. This annoyed Franklin, who disliked the teacher's artistic ambitions, but responded nonetheless. As a result, Franklin fell in love with the wife of a friend and, having abandoned any religious restraint, tried to know her. Mrs. T did not reciprocate his feelings and told her husband when he returned. Thus ended their friendship. Franklin subsequently stated that this was only to his advantage, since no one else sent him poems. 11. Fox throwing was once a popular sport. Fox throwing was popular among the European aristocracy of the 17th and 18th centuries, is when one person, or a couple, must throw the fox as far and as high as they can. 12. Thomas Edison did not invent most of the patented inventions. It's fair to say that American inventor and entrepreneur Thomas Edison was one of the most notorious intellectual property thieves in the world. Of the 1,093 inventions for which he received a patent, almost all he stole from real geniuses such as Nikola Tesla, Wilhelm Röntgen, and Joseph Swan, the last of whom originally invented the light bulb. 13. The Leaning Tower of Pisa was never level. World famous for its slope, this freestanding bell tower was built in the 12th century. When construction began on the second floor, the tower began to tilt due to unstable ground. As construction continued, the slope only increased and subsequently became more iconic than the tower itself. 14. 46 BC lasted 445 days and is the longest year in human history. Called Annus Confusionis, or the Year of Confusion, this year had 2 extra leap months introduced by Julius Caesar. This was done so that his newly formed Julian calendar would coincide with the seasonal year. This calendar is the variant still in use today in most places around the world. 15. 100 million years ago, fast crocodiles lived in the Sahara Desert. At that time, the Sahara Desert was a valley with lush vegetation, full of life, as well as predators. In 2009, fossil hunters discovered the remains of crocodiles. These remains were large supporting legs that allowed the animals to race along the ground at breakneck speed. They could easily grab the hapless dinosaurs in their mouths. 16. The shortest war in history lasted 38 minutes. The war between Great Britain and Zanzibar, known as the Anglo-Zanzibar War, took place on August 27, 1896. It began with the ascension to the throne of the next Sultan of Zanzibar and ended with the victory of the British. 17. Roman Emperor Caligula made one of his favorite horses a senator. If you don't know anything about Caligula, then this is a pretty good way to get an impression of him. He was notorious for his rage and cruelty. Caligula fed criminals to animals and spoke to the moon. He loved his horse, whose name was Incitat, so much that he gave him a marble stall, an ivory manger, a collar with precious stones, and even a house. And Caligula also made his horse a senator and allegedly planned to make him a consul, but, alas, he did not have time, since the Roman emperor was killed. 18. The first ever lottery in history was held during the Han Empire, between 205 and 187 BC. Although it is not known exactly what the prizes were, it is believed that Chinese citizens of that era drew kino for a nominal fee, in the same way that straws are drawn. This lottery was created to help finance major government projects, including the construction of the Great Wall of China. 19. Unpleasant fact about the creator of the telegraph. Samuel Morse is remembered today for his role in the development and commercialization of the telegraph, and for the code of the same name he used to communicate. At the same time, everyone forgot about his unsuccessful political career, built on an anti-Catholic and anti-immigration platform. In 1834, Morse joined the growing nativist movement and began writing a series of articles under the pseudonym Brutus denouncing the Catholic plot to destroy the American way of life. Morse's main targets were poor immigrants from Ireland and Italy who brought with them ignorance and Roman Catholicism. Many of Morse's friends and former followers were shocked by his outspoken views, but he became the leader of the Nativist Party. In fact, they asked him to run for mayor of New York in 1836. As a result, Morse was ranked last among the candidates, but this allowed him to devote his time to working on the telegraph. 20. Violence in Oxford. One of the first scholarly works on the subject of university violence in medieval times was written by Professor Andrew Larson of Marquette University, who studied the history of violence at the University of Oxford. He identified 4 main categories of student violence. The first was personal conflict violence between several people, based on personal problems between them. Although many of these cases resulted in beatings or persecution, they were also the most poorly documented. Urban violence was an altercation between students and townspeople. In such cases, there was often the potential for the most damage and turning into full-blown riots. So it was in 1355 during the celebration of the day of Saint Scholasticus, as a result of which almost 100 people died, including more than 60 scientists. The other 2 categories are north-south violence and house-to-house squabbles. They were usually caused by conflict between nationalities or religions, or they were the result of elections. Although the paper focused on Oxford, these incidents were common at other universities as well. For example, there also was a violent riot in Cambridge in 1381. That's all for today. Mr. Top F was with you. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Also, write down in the comments what topic of the video you want to see in the next release of Top F. Bye.